Hello and welcome, and well, of course, with a brand new iRacing season only just begun, it always brings about new content. And well, here at Apex Racing TV, we couldn't have hoped for, well, me certainly anyway, forget about Sam Fitzpatrick for a moment, couldn't have hoped for much more of a better gem in the Renault Clio Cup car. It's come to iRacing, and of course, it would be rude not to, wouldn't it, to create our own league for it, Sam. And now forming a very first here at Apex Racing TV, a support race to the grand event later on, the Porsche Cup.
Exactly. This is going to be a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun for us. We love doing these broadcasts, and to have two of them in the same night is absolutely fantastic. And a couple of very different cars, really. We're going to see very different racing between the Porsche Cup, which comes up later on in a couple of hours. But yeah, first up, it is the Clios, and you're absolutely right, Tim. I wholeheartedly agree with you. Great to see the Clio in the game. There's not a whole lot of front-wheel drive cars necessarily in iRacing. I mean, they have amended that slightly in recent times, but this is a fantastic addition, and it's nice to now have this along with the TCR to really represent European
Can't forget the Kia
racing.
Optima. And all of its lovely, glorious understeeriness. You definitely could not forget that car. If you've never tried it, make sure you give that a go at some stage. Just purely for the memes. Just purely for the memes. Just crawl around the corner.
Weapon down the straight. It like clips 180 mile an hour quite easy. So around Daytona, it's
great fun. But just you try to get it around the corner and stop it from. You know, people complain that these other front-wheel drive cars have, they spin up the front tyres, they have understeer. Nothing too driven in the Kia. But back to the Clio, Sam. We always have great action from the lower powered cars, don't we? I think Formula 4, but we've seen recently the officials, the Toyota GR86, how popular that has been. Formula V's that we've covered before, the SRF, Ford Spec Racers, you name it. And I think this is going to be another little gem on the iRacing platform, and we're going to have some great racing this season.
Yeah, I think so, and they are very easy to get up to speed as well. I think the TCRs are very tricky cars to drive because, particularly on throttle, you get so much understeer. Like it really is a case of sort of lining the car up, and then as soon as you can get on the throttle, you do. In this Clio, it seems to be a bit more compliant when it comes to getting on the throttle, so it's a bit less daunting, I think, for those drivers who are swapping from rear-wheel drive cars into front-wheel drive cars, and so it should be much more capable for them, and this is going to be a good test for them. This is a handling circuit in the case of Okayama, a lot of corners very close to one another, so yeah, will be a good tester to start out the season.
But I'm talking of the season, Sam, should you ever take a little look at the schedule for the season? And well, Sam, you've picked out some absolute gems here. Okayama, of course, Brands Hatch, we visited only a week ago with the Porsche Cup Series before we head to Spa, Sebring, Laguna, Silverstone, although I'm still bitter with you, you've picked the International rather than the National for that one, Sam. And round things up with a bit of a special event at the end of the season at the Nürburgring Combined. Yeah,
this Kansas taking into a few different sorts of parameters. Of course, we've got the couple of series, official series that the Clio is in, the production car challenge, and then also the fixed setup Clio series, and that's actually visiting Okayama, hence this round. Also, of course, Okayama is a free circuit, but then also when possible we try to match it up as well with the Porsche Cup Championship as well. So Silverstone, for example, does match up with Porsche Cup, so does the Nordschleife as well. And I think Spa as well does match up with that as well. So yeah, it will be nice to have those sorts of kind of back-to-back races as we get used to the circuit during the evening. Of course, VAR later on for Porsche Cup. But yeah, this Okayama circuit's a circuit that everyone knows really in iRacing, because it's one of the free circuits for. I don't think it was free initially, but even when I joined in 2016, it was already part of the base content.
Oh, yeah, it's heavily used, especially in the lower road racing series. But, well, as we've mentioned it so much, but a little bit earlier on, I did away with the sofas and took a little look at the track around Okayama and trying to get an idea of where we're going to see the action out on track. Let's take a look. Of course, Okayama came along in 1990, and it was Hajime Tanaka, I have to get his name right, who just wondered, could you apply the country club golf course membership to motor racing? Of course, Okayama was born, and what a circuit it is, kicking off perennial, run into turn 1. You can get nice and easy up the inside there, but interestingly, if you're clever enough, if you have your wits about you, which you could see, of course, Clio Cups, wheel-to-wheel racing, turn 2, you can hold on the inside there and make it through. And actually, it could actually be the better place to get your move done through Williams. Then we've got the Moss S's here, turn 3, so many British corner names that Okayama has. Before we head through Atwood Curve, this is probably one of the most crucial corners on the circuit because it's all about just getting your exit. And these cars are so easy to understeer. It's all about that run down the back straight and then into hairpin corner, up the inside there, making sure you don't lock a wheel. You're going to be side by side through Revolver and through Piper Corner here, quite possibly. And it's a real banging doors, wheel-to-wheel action type of circuit this, and especially that section. And then as we head up through into 8, again, you've got that short straight there. You can make a move, send it up the inside. Will anyone be willing to? Because again, this is the beauty of Okayama. You have a second chance because the next corner, turn 9, comes back you the opposite way. Turn 10, generally only 1 wide, although I bet you the drivers don't get the message and we'll see a 2 wide there. And then the Apley then last turn. Really crucial hit. There's a big gravel trap on the outside just round about here. And if drivers are pushing a bit too hard, especially with the understeer that Clio Cup has, being front wheel drive, I think there's going to be a few drivers having a little bit of an excursion out into there, but well, it remains to be seen, and we're going to have some great action regardless of this epic circuit. Well, as you see there, Sam, I think we're going to see a lot of overtaking around here. Lots of different, lines where you can go, although you might lose out on the initial corner where the next corner then bends in the opposite direction. If you can hold it right around the outside, there's still a chance to recover the place. It's going to be interesting tactics. As I mentioned, low powered always provides less racing action. And should we take a little look at the format that you've put together, which I think could be a little bit of a winner here?
Yes, it's just going to be a couple of 20-minute races, pretty much. It's a fairly simple one.
Just a couple.
Just a couple.
Just say it so casually, Sam.
Qualifying as well, 10 minutes, and everyone's out on circuit with one another as well. But yeah, then that race 1, 20 minutes, grid ordered by qualifying time, and then the race 2 will be soon after, just a 3-minute break between the 2 races, and the top 10 cars for tonight. That might change as the season progresses, but top 10 cars tonight will be inverted for that race 2, so that 10th position going to be absolutely pivotal.
You're not going to get more stingy and reduce the amount as the season goes on.
Yeah, that's usually what happens when it comes to the heat format. As a couple of entries drop down, we're like, no, we can't.
Scrooge
have
Fitzpatrick there,
exactly.
Bar humbug. It's nowhere near Christmas, let alone already, on about cutting the amount of people that are inverted. But no, it's always that heat format, and especially the reverse grid stuff. We've seen it time and time again here at Apex Racing TV, but wow, it always makes it interesting. And normally there's somewhere once or twice a season there's a winner that you would never expect.
Yeah, I think for this series it's going to be more possible for a double race win compared to some of the other series we see, because 10 cars, I mean, it's not a huge reverse grid. I mean, it is recoverable, and then also the fact that I think these cars are going to be more possible to overtake in. Going to mean that by the end of that 20 minutes you should be able to get back to your original position. So I can honestly see a double race winner coming tonight, but if one of the AMs can get within that top 10, which I think a few of them will do, then they could be in for some big points. But a lot of drivers hate starting on pole position. A lot of drivers we often see get that pole position for this race 2, and then sometimes even just start from the pit lane because they're like, nah, I'm having none of this. I don't want 9 faster drivers back behind me. Hopefully we see those AMs properly take it on and believe in themselves and battle tooth and nail in that race 2.
Oh, definitely. Well, it's one of those things, isn't it? Because when you're on pole, technically the only way is down. You can't progress anymore from being first. Well, I wouldn't know what that feels like anyway, because I'm never on pole whatsoever. But well, we've got qualifying, I believe, just about getting underway. So what we're going to do is head to a quick ad break now. We will see you on the other side, where we'll be getting into qualifying and then the 2 races from here. The first race of the season, and for Apex Racing Leagues, the Clio Cup. We'll see you shortly.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
And 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back, and well, in amongst all the excitement, jumped the gun a bit too early. We've got a bit of practice still remaining here from Okayama. Oh, wow. Here we go. Who is going to get that first pole position in the year and, well, of the season, and, well, ever really, Sam? It's a brand new league. Somebody's going to have absolutely, you know, the bragging rights that they will have had the first pole position and the first ever win in this championship.
Yeah, going to be absolutely big for the drivers to be able to take this first race win of the season if they can possibly do it, and we'll certainly set them off in a good stead for the rest of the championship. Only 7 rounds, remember, as well, so scoring good points is going to be really fundamental throughout the championship. You don't want to be leaving yourself too much to catch up on, and of course a lot of the drivers are still getting used to the car, so I'm expecting there to be quite a change in pace for a few of these guys as the season progresses.
Out on track right now, trying to get in this last few moments of practice. I could tell you that the initial pace setter is Mark Fletcher of Altitude Esports, who is actually only the, I believe, I know you'll correct me if I'm wrong, Sam, the third highest iRating driver. So based on that, he's outperforming himself here. We've got Damien Harris in second, Robin Veerman is third, Jack Wilson, and then Jack Godden running at your top 5. They're all pros, with your top and qualifying being Joachim Flodman of Team Banana. What a name, Team Banana.
It's a very good one. I'm not sure what the backstory.
I'm trying to make some really, as it's practice still going on here, on some really appalling banana puns. Like
he's got 6 minutes.
He's got skin in the game. Or something like that.
That's better than normal.
Banana skin? Doesn't want to slip up. I don't know. There's, improving as time goes on, like a fine wine, Sam. Well, I don't know about the fine part. Anyway, Patrick Olsson, also his teammate and fellow countryman from Sweden, is in second place in 16th overall. And then Scott Malkin of Ignium is currently the third fastest qualifier. And 12. See, Patrick Olsson, Sam, he's putting 44 laps during the practice session. That's someone who's cramming in as much practice as he possibly can before we had to have qualifying and then take the green flag for the very first time in this championship.
Yeah, that's the best part of 75 minutes of practice in this 1 hour and 45 minutes which have gone past. So he has been churning in the laps. There's Scott Malcolm, absolute legend of Apex Racing TV. Scott has maybe done more races than any other driver on Apex Racing TV, dare I say. Of course, absolute veteran of the BSRTC.
Really?
Many years ago.
I'm just trying to think to put in, of other drivers that might possibly be up there, and I know because you are the ultimate encyclopedia of stats when it comes to ARL. Would more than someone like Lennart Schnabel, for example, or Tobias Olsson?
struggling to hold back my laughter, Tim, honestly. Scott Malcolm is in a different league versus the likes of Lennart Schnabel. I mean, we're seriously talking probably 30 race meetings a year for 5 years or something on BSRTC. Then took part in ARLTC, took part in some of the BSRTC Master races as well, Scott. But great to see him back on the channel again after a little bit of a break. And yeah, he's got a lot of experience, and yeah, we'll be very much having a few fans out there wishing him good luck. Couple of drivers as well, just some ARL trivia, because we all know that's why we tune in every week. Mark Fletcher and Will Redford are the two champions in this series. Will Redford is the only man in Apex Racing League history to win ARL championships, pro championships, in 2 different car categories. Redford winning both in the F4s, where he won 10 consecutive races, and Apex Racing League Touring Car Britain as well. Andrew Roos is the only other man who can lay claim to that mantle, albeit he did both win his in NASCAR, the B class and the C class.
And those
but
consecutive wins, Sam.
Yes.
I'm correct in saying that those are still yet to be beaten. Arvidsson got close.
Arvidsson got 10 as well.
Yes. I couldn't remember. I knew he hadn't beaten it, but I couldn't remember where he quite equalled or was one behind. I mean, equally from the pair of them, that is. I mean, scintillating. I mean, and also Redford. I don't think he's appeared since his win streak. So technically, if he wins tonight, that continues his streak going.
No, because it didn't. It started at the start of the season.
Of course, yes, and then yes, of course, because he only lost a few towards the end of the season, didn't he? Yes.
And the only Apex Racing League champion ever to have his trophy presented in person as well. So that's a little bit of a good thing for Will. And he is actually at the moment at the Apex Racing Sim Centre, racing in one of the downstairs rigs, which of course are available to hire, Apex Racing Sim. And we'll probably be having a chat with him later on as well. To discuss a few things, including Sleeping 12 Hours, which is coming up next week. Apologies, not next week. Next day, tomorrow, for the 12 Hours, as we ride on board with Janus Molos. Want to be SRT, great to see them involved. They always have very good liveries. I'm loving the yellow on several liveries that we see nowadays. And of course, former NASCAR driver in Apex Racing liveries, trying his hand at these Clios.
Joseph Clist. Does he come? He's got to surely come close to.
Tim, you have.
He takes part in everything,
idea, man.
Oh.
You have no idea just how many races. Paul has maybe been around for a couple of years, but Scott, you know, we're talking decade plus. So is quite got some catching up to do. As we're into the final minute or so of qualifying. I don't know, Tim, who your picks for the title are, because personally, I would say Will Redford has to be the favourite. He's not the highest I-rated driver for this series. However, Will, with 6,700 and of course a lot of real life experience, Civic Cup driver in the real world, did very well last season, winning a couple of races and pursuing that once again for 2023. I think he's got a lot of pedigree, especially in front wheel drive cars, and whilst he's not performing great in qualifying right now, or apologies, in practice, I do feel like he's probably the man to beat.
For me, Sam. Oh, Robert, I was hoping that was going to be a perfect handbrake turn there into parking space. Sam, I've got 25 seconds in which to try and decide. I'm dreading this one because whoever I pick, they always have a shocker. I really, really praised Tim Darracott, said he's going to do great things. Last week in Porsche Cup, he had a shocker. At the start of the GT3 season, I said Paul Collishaw. He said thanks very much, and then, had a... Well, not the best start to the season, so I don't know if I want to cast that onto anyone. The curse.
Once again, the classic
Tim.
Tim Cox sitting on the fence. You tune in every week and you see it every week. He always delivers. Never wants to make a decision. Very disappointing, Tim. Honestly, for the AMs,
But
I will put my head on the line and say Scott Malcolm because he's, like I said, got more experience than anyone else, and he's the highest I-rated driver. So I got that one in the bag. Although Damien McMullen, I think, will also be a significant rival. McMullen, I believe, a former AM champion in the ARL Masters, as the drivers are entering out on circuit. And if it was a race to get out on circuit, I think Mark Fletcher is leading the championship right now because he was absolutely rapid getting out there. Didn't seem to be the last man on the pit still, but they're all flooding out. It's nice to see this this group qualifying session. And, well, they'll all be trying to get a bit of a draft off one another, but at the same time, get some clean air.
here we go, folks. The first qualifying session ever for the Apex Racing League Clio Cup from Okayama. Do not go anywhere whatsoever. See, well, Sam's favourite there, Scott Malcolm. He's got his webcam on. Great to see Scott. How is he going to get on? Where is he going to come? Driver in 274. Scott by name? I'm Scott by nature because he's Scottish. That's not too bad for a pun for me, is it?
Yeah, that's two now, isn't
It
it?
is.
Which I think would classify as a joke. Scott just lifting off the throttle slightly down.
This one's true because he's a Scot. And
Oh,
no,
absolutely.
never
Yeah, it's
mind.
factual as well.
Yeah.
Scott just lifting off down the back straight, trying to find some space. We might see a little bit of backing up. I think to start off the qualifying session, you probably just want to get a clean lap in. It's fairly easy to pick up a 1x, particularly around Revolver Corner that the drivers are now navigating. It is incredible how this circuit held two different F1 races in 1995 and 1994, both won by Michael Schumacher in his Benetton days. And has not been visited since.
What's crazy, you think, if modern F1 cars, I think actually even fit around somewhere like Okayama.
Exactly. And the thing that in the end ended the race was because it's in the middle of nowhere. It's in the middle of like a forest. And so to get all the equipment for an F1 race over there was an absolute pain. I'm not exactly sure how it got started in the first place, seeing that, of course, this entire time they had Suzuka on the calendar. It was the Pacific Grand Prix that it held. As we were seeing a little bit of checking up in turn one.
Sam Fitzpatrick, I Heart Suzuka.
Oh yeah. What if you got Suzuka?
Also,
what
Sam, if you're listening to my track guide earlier, this course was founded on a country club model, based on golf courses where you pay a subscription and visit it. So I think it's out in the middle of nowhere, realistically, and it's a shame, crying shame in some ways, because actually, as a inverted commas national circuit, although it has held international races, it is an absolute cracker. And there we go. You see Damien McMullen. He's someone else who's got the memo. He's got his webcam on for Potato Nation.
Daniel Scout in the YouTube chat. Great to have you watching along, Daniel. Asking, is it the same as F4? F4 round 1, but no, different to normal. For that one, albeit Tim does broadcast the F4, but not myself. And of course, welcome to everyone else who is watching along. All 33 of you. We do appreciate you tuning in for this opening round of the championship. Hopefully, we keep you for the entire night. Of course, ARA Porsche Cup coming up later on as well. 50-odd drivers tackling Virginia later on. And there will only be about a 15-minute changeover from this broadcast to the next. Quite a unique thing to see in sim racing, and yeah, very pleased to be producing it on Apex Racing TV as the first times are coming in, and it is at the moment Jack Wilson at the top of the standings. In fact, it's in effect 1-2 before Damien Harris, the highest I-rated driver in the field, goes to the top of the standings. Patrick Olsen at the moment at the top of the amateurs.
Redford, really disappointing opening lap from him, all the way down in 12 for the 47.04.
I think he was in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, there's definitely quite a bit there. All right, Olsen, cracking lap from the AM driver, 6th overall, make that 7th as Mark Fletcher pops into 3rd in the 111 altitude esports Clio. So that's the first round of laps done nearly, and I can tell you Cameron Midero has had his lap time deleted, likewise as Alberg. Same as Verheig as well. Oh no, apologies. Fast bike racing driver. Just nipping in there, 47.5.
This is a very weird circuit, and it messes up our timing screens because when you start your lap from the pit lane, you line up behind the start-finish line, and so it registers as the drivers have done one extra lap than they actually have done. Because I think when they exit the pits, they've already done one lap, according to iRacing. So that's oh man. I mean, yeah, and now they're laying past a few drivers, going to get underneath here, trying not to pick up any penalties. It's an absolute mess at the back end of the circuit. Heredia has been able to get some clean air at least, and it's good to see another yellow livery as well out there, and he will soon be doing his next lap.
Of course, it is the sporting racing colours of Renault, that yellow colour. Never actually no, I like it. I've owned a Clio, but and a Megane. But it's never. I've only owned the hot Megane, but not the hot Clio. Useless fact for you there. Cracking car, though. Absolute cracking cars as they've got the drivers heading out onto their next laps right now. Many of them elected to come back into the pit lane.
And just a bit of information as well. No fuel needing to come into this because this is a fixed setup series. They're all set to the Clio Cup official series schedule, and so yeah, just the fixed up. Well, Redford has moved up into 4th position on the grid, so now Harris, Veerman, Fletcher and Redford forming the front 2 rows of the grid.
There we go. Sam, as you can see on the screen, Apex Racing Academy. Who makes the best setups for iRacing?
Apex Racing Academy, there you go. And
exactly.
Of course, Will is a part of Apex Racing Academy as well. And of course, Apex Racing Academy providing setups for the Production Card Challenge, visiting Monza Combined this week. There's some proper wacky circuits on that for this season, but yeah, those being produced by Luke McCohen for this season. So if you want to get some of those setups to get yourself faster in the Clio Cup, or 20 other cars on iRacing, including the Porsche Cup, 6 of the GT3 cars as well, of course the P2, the MTH, which is fantastic, of course, for Sebring 12 Hours coming up tomorrow. Do check out apexracingac.com, and yeah, you can get yourself those data packs, including setups and chat guides, and also group coaching sessions, which whenever I've spoken to people who have taken part in them, always say it's absolutely the best way, including in your subscription, and you get coaching from some of the best drivers in all of sim racing. So do check out apexracingac.com for more information to ride on board with. Adam Hedgecock, a very experienced driver, also probably up there in the top 10 most races completed on Apex Racing TV is Hedgecock, and always on the limit of Pro or Am. I think he's the lowest I-rated Pro driver. Adam, for the entirety of ARLTC and BSRTC, was always on the cusp every single season, and he's once again gained all there. So the fact that he is last at the pros at the moment is absolutely perfect. That's where he always is. He's always last at the pros at top of the AMs.
Definitely where it should be. Well, we knew it'd be close, but close times up and down through the field. First, through all the way up until 13th, which is actually our top AM qualifier, Patrick Olsen, is a second difference, with our top 2 being splitted by half a tenth. Sam, I mean, look at Wilson and Barb, 4 tenths, sorry, 300ths even, sorry, separating those two. 100th separating Gibb and Bayet as well. It's, I mean, especially in these cars, you can't comprehend how much difference that is across the line. You're talking literally inches difference.
Yeah, ever so close for those places right now. Everyone seems to be on pace. There's not a whole lot of field spread. You know, top 12 all separated by less than a second, and no one running away with it. As, look at that, Jack Wilson for Effect Simulations. They look very good at the start of this qualifying, did Effect, but Wilson has just put in an absolute stormer, and so too has Jack Godden. He's up into 5th position now, hence promoting the likes of Redford and Barb down to 6th and 7th.
Our top three separated by 1/100th of a second. Sorry, probably it was a 10th. That is how close it is. Second and third are split by 100th. I mean, FX, you can tell their teammates because that's just how close they are. Been practically practicing together. And well, they're sharing a lot of expertise. But as we head across into race, let's take you through your first grid ever here in the Apex Racing League Clio Cup. Damien Harris lines up on pole with Jack Wilson alongside him in the front row. Then it's Veerman with Fletcher on the second row. Third row sees Godden line up alongside Redford with Barb and Puddicombe on your fourth row of the grid. Moods and Gibb, they're going to round out your top 10 with 11th and 12th is Bayet and Karamidou. Olsen, your top qualifier in Nam, he slots alongside Juan Carlos Hedera with Adam Hedgecock and Greetonen taking up to the 16th place. Row 9 sees Joachim Floodman alongside Sam's favourite Scott Malcolm with Sariano next to Damien McCullough to round out your top 20. Then it's Jay Walsh and Verheij, Alberg and Clist to round out your 24 car field. 12 rows of fun, action, drama and excitement. Salmon are not far away, are we?
We are not. And I really don't know who to pick for this race, honestly. It's so good to see there being 5 or 6 contenders, really. Will Ripperstein down there in 6th position. I think he's just going to be getting faster as the night goes on, because a lot of prep for sleeping 12 hours, as I'm sure is the case for many of these drivers, to be fair. But we've just got Karim Midari to get onto the grid, and then the first ever race in the Apex Racing League Clear Cup will be underway.
Just waiting on him to take to the grid. Not long now, cutting it fine. There we go. Just pops in right at the dying seconds. Let's take on the lights. Let's get ready to go racing for the first time ever here from Okayama in the Clio Cups, as we are green and we are away. And Redford getting an absolute shocker of a start there, being overtaken by Puddicombe, who's through. And well, up front it's Harris versus Wilson down into turn 1 as Wilson looks to sneak up through the inside there and squeeze out Harris wide. But here comes Harris fighting back for Wave Italy, and he's going to just about get in front of that. Oh no, and there's contact between the pair of them. And Wilson, well, he came back across the track. There was nothing he could do as he made collision with the barrier. Our top 2 are out by corner 2, Sam.
Wow. Wow. And that has absolutely changed it with Veerman now leading the way ahead of Godden. Fletcher actually losing that position then to Godden. But that'll be absolutely heartbreaking there for Harris and Wilson, whose entire nights have been compromised now because they are very unlikely to get within the reverse grid. Will need to take one of their available faster pairs in order to get back out on circuit. Fletcher with better straight line speed using the slipstream from Veerman. Sends it in very deep. I think he's going to miss the corner entirely though. There goes Mark Fletcher, and that is 3 of our top 4 on the grid, all having absolute mares of a race start. Fletcher rejoins safely, but we have got Adam Hedgecock spinning around in the background, so awful corner there for Altitude Esports.
List already up 9 places. There's all more people off. Malcolm off, and well, there's 5 big casualties already on. And Sam, that's why I don't name a favourite driver, because they always end up having a shocker. But you mocked me. As Godden, he's up 3, so your top order as they come round the last corner. Absolutely maimed that. Sorry, Mike Knight first, then the last corner. Named, well, I can't think where they got that name from at all. Sam Veerman leads from Godden, Barb, Redford, Modus, Gibb, Karamadaru as well. Puddicombe, he's into the pits. Kuitinen is 8th, 9th is Fletcher. Olsen, your leader in AM, he's now inside that top 10, and crucially, Sam, he will take pole position if he can remain there, but he's been harassed and harangued by, well, fellow amateur driver Sariano. Behind them, then Floodman, Clist, as I said, up 10 places down to 14 from McCullum, Walsh, Alberg, and then it's into the drivers, so all fallen off. Malcolm, Harris, Verheij, Puddicombe, Haria, so Heredia, Wilson and Hedgecock.
So Gibb past Modos there, and Karim Midaru, who's gained 5 places so far. Epic start for him. Will be next up. Koitinen as well, up 8 places. So absolutely huge gaining for a few of those guys. But Fletcher doing well to stay at least in the top 9 after his off. And I think Damien Harris might be able to get up there as well, depending on how much damage he has after that turn to instant on lap 1. as there goes Karamadari up the inside of Modos, who is falling down the order right now. There's a hip trick between the two of them. They bounce, frankly, quite unusually right there, door to door, and they all manage to just squeeze past one another. Karamadari is still alongside Modos. Fletcher was able to get through in all of that, and now Mike Koitinen is looking to gain 2 more positions from the 8 he's already gained.
We knew there'd be drama, we knew there'd be excitement. We weren't quite expecting this one. As we look back from the Romanian's car of Walker Racing Esports, Karamadari. And that is Modos right behind us and forming that train that stretches all the way back to Bet in 13th place right now. Some 6 places covered by about 4 seconds all in. So we head across the line. Last time around, fastest lap went to Jack Godden, the privateer, in the 171 machine. Currently 2nd overall. Veerman leading the way though. But I tell you what, Godden is really not letting him get away with it, and we see Redford coming under a bit of pressure here, Sam.
Yeah, Loic Barb, former race winner in Apex Racing League, won a race in the Formula Renault 2.0 series we held for a season. Was fairly high up in the championship actually, him and his Cube Racing teammates. As we have a replay of sorts of this race start where we sorts a lot of action, and yeah, between the top 2, between Harris and Wilson, neither of them were going to give an inch, and then it was the driver on the outside here of Wilson who, did he turn in too much? I don't know.
Can't quite tell from exactly, Sam. Can't quite tell from that. Maybe this will give us the answer. So we're looking from, I guess this will be from Veerman, because he was in 3rd at the time.
A little bit of netcode as well. Yeah, got away with it if it weren't for that. There was Fletcher over judging, was at threat of running into the back of the race leader, so had to go straight on. Karamadari is in that one. There is Hedgecock getting a hit though from behind. That's why he dropped so many places.
So Redford up the inside trying to make some moves, and well, back to live pictures right now.
That was a smooth transition there because we went to the exact same position. Oh, no, that's not smooth. Clist into the wall, and that's a quarter panel. May have been in contact with Scott Malcolm, perhaps, who was at the front of that train.
He sits patiently and waits, tries to flick the car around. How much damage has it got? So it had a big old clatter, the front left did, with the wall there. It's not exactly helping things. Oh, we've had a change for the lead in Am. Sariano is ahead of Olsen. There he is, Simone Sariano. Olsen, Floodman, your top 3 in Am. Line astern right now. And what's worrying for the Italian is that Olsen and Floodman are teammates, Sam, and running it in deep into Aqua Curve is certainly not going to help things. He's going to lose 1 place. He might even lose 2, because that's Olsen ahead of us. He tucks in right behind the Team Banana driver. There's all something's happened to Jack Godden. He's got 2 places. And it's all about this battle right now. A freeway fight down into the hairpin between the top 3 in Am, and they've run in a bit too deep. There's Floodman, but it's going to get away with it, and Olsen reclaims the lead in Am.
Well, that's exactly what Team Banana wanted, really. Now they've got Floodman to protect against Olsen, and Serene, who momentarily got ahead of the bunch of them, now has to do that work again, and Damien has now only 4.5 seconds off these guys. It is going to be tight to see if Harris can catch and pass all these drivers and claim that reverse good pole. Dare I say, I think he will do it as long as he doesn't have too much damage, which, judging by his lap times, he might well do, because he's about 1.5 seconds off the race leaders or bit. Maybe once he's got a bit of clean air, he might be in a better place. But you're absolutely right about Jack Godden. I think he went off at Revolver Corner, which is the left-hander straight after the hairpin, and that is why he dropped best part of 3 seconds.
So you're saying he overshot Revolver? There we go.
This is
come on,
absolutely
stay all week. It's
we can see, however, Damien Harris has his steering wheel crooked. He is crabbing all the way.
This is the, I mean, Sam, you can see just how much quicker he is than Sariano with a quicker steering wheel, and for myself, like myself, this is depressing. You've got someone with a destroy car, and yet they're still quicker than you, as we see Walsh engaged with a battle with Alberg. Olsen has been, well, Floodman, his teammate, they go side by side. The two Team Banana cars, like they did last time around this same spot. As we run down towards Hairpin, who's going to come out on top this time? Advantage Floodman, and he's got the move done. He pulls back in front of his teammate. As we look forward from the top of Olsen's car. Job done. As Malcolm trying to defend here from McCullen. Well, actually, no, apologies, getting past McCullen there. That's for position for 15th. It's just behind them. Walsh getting past Alberg.
Yeah, Joe Walsh having a pretty good run at the moment, up 4 places. Alberg was faster on that last lap, so I think he will probably make this move eventually. Albeit, yeah, so Alberg got past Walsh, but Walsh was able to get back past once again, so might be able to start pulling away there. There's Koitsinen not being able to get past Modos. We saw Modos fall down the order quite quickly earlier on. That contact with Karamidari did not exactly help on that one, and I thought Koitsinen might be able to take advantage, but he wasn't able to quite do it. Here comes Kim Behait. Gonna have to go the long way around at turn 1, tries to get underneath. That could be a very nice move, but a very tight line for the Team Banana car. Slightly puts him off, and Behait was not able to get past. And that could be the first episode of a series, I think, tonight between these two, because that was some tough racing.
What this is allowing right now is Floodman to just disappear off into the distance. He's already managed to pull out what's some 1.5 seconds over his teammate Olsen. And more crucially, Floodman will be in pole position for race 2 should he remain there. We're just approaching half race distance. Still lots of battling going on as Fletcher up the inside of Gibbs there. That is the 5th. Ahead of them though, Veerman leads. He's now at 1.9 seconds ahead of Redman. Barb Godden, after that mistake, he's fallen all the way back to 4th. It's Fletcher, Gibb, Karamadaru, Modus, Gridnan, Floodman, 10th overall the leader in Olsen, Bayet, Harris as well. He's done really, really well to recover. He's now got past Sariano, Malcolm, McCullen, Walsh, Alberg, Puddicombe, Heredia, Clist. Wow, Clist now behind Hedgecock, and Wilson, of course, after that earlier issue. Connection on turn 2 is dead last.
Half a second past that last time round for Godden, catching up nice and quickly. Well, on the previous lap, on that last one actually was just 0.2 of a second, so they're all in sight of one another. Are these top 4? I think a move is a little while away. Although actually, you know, Godden, I say that, yeah, it's still continuing to close in on Loic Barb. Great to see how much the Finchman decides to defend against the Brit behind. Here they are. And of course Fletcher will be matching these guys' times as well. Will undoubtedly have the same pace, but with that off from 3rd position on the opening lap, that does have a lot of catching up to do.
Well, I should take a little look at some replays, Sam. So there is Clist.
This is the crash.
Very, it's very reminiscent to the one we saw at turn 2 for the lead, Sam.
Well, I think what you can see from this, and maybe that those couple ones weren't like the best of example of it, but I think particularly the door-to-door we saw between Karamidari and Motos earlier on is the way that these cars react with one another. It is quite sort of bouncy. One car hits another car and there's quite a lot of bounce compared to real life when there'd be a bit more absorption. And so you do have to be careful. You want to race these cars very hard, you want to be willing to make contact, but with the way that they are reacting in the sim means that you do have to be quite careful, and those bits of contact can be a bit more costly than arguably what they should be, as this is the furious battle between Olsen and Behait, which has been going on for a while, and yeah, again, a marginal one there with the Team Banana drive taking a much tighter line than expected on the corner exit.
Just say Behait versus Olsen, that's still going on. Harris closing right onto the back of them, and I think that could be part of the story of how these two are going to finish.
Because I can see Harris just getting in amongst these two and separating them. And well, one driver's going to lose out of this. One driver's definitely going to gain, possibly even massively, as Harris gets involved. As he comes through out of Williams towards the Moss S. Just keeping an eye on what's happening up and down through the field with 7 minutes left remaining in race 1 from Okayama. Look, Barb having to defend right now for well, no, sorry, trying to make a pass. So he's Gordon behind him, isn't it? So it's just slightly out there, but Karamidari's made it past Gibb behind them.
No, but he's off. Oh, no. And is he going to fall out of the top 10 here? Flodman might get past. No, he stays ahead of Flodman, so that would be front row of the grid for race 2, crucially for Karamidari, who does quite a few YouTube videos. Do check out the Walk Racing Esports YouTube channel. Andre, a driver in the Prototype Championship that we host on a Thursday evening, and he does some quite good sort of highlight videos with him doing team radio and stuff. So do check that YouTube channel out, Walk Racing. But for now, he has dropped a fair few positions as Gordon all over the back of Barb. Is Barb going to put up much of a defence? You feel like Gordon could go for the move down into turn 1, but in fact, he stays in the draft as long as possible. Now he pulls out, gets underneath, but Barb with a fantastic run is able to get on the power much earlier. And that's unconventional defending, but it's worked perfectly.
It has. It really worked the switchback to perfection there, did the Frenchman. To maintain that third place, but it's still close between the pair of them. Only attempt separating them is here we go. Gordon having a bit of a look up the inside into Atwood. We're going to see the same move repeat itself. No, Gordon just squeezing Barb out wide there, keeping him pinned to the edge of the track. Brilliant tactics being played out by the Brit right now, but look at the speed the Barb has carried over, and they cut straight out the front, across the front of Gordon to cover off that move down into the hairpin, Sam.
And Fletcher is catching up on these guys, hand over fist, a second a lap or so faster when they are fighting like this. And with the time remaining, you could see it through a battle for the final spots on the podium. I think Barb is defending brilliantly right now, but you can't help but feel it's only a matter of time. And here comes Gordon. He hasn't been able to cover off the entire inside line. And now it will be the much shorter distance carried by the British driver. He's able to get Barb now on the back foot, unless Barb can work some magic in these final couple of corners. Yeah, I think it should be Jack Gordon, who started in 5th place, who's up into the rostrum places.
That is Bates getting past Olsen. Harris he caught up to the back of them quite quickly, but since then, Sam, his pace seems to have just curtailed off a little bit.
Yeah, had a bit of a 46.13 on that last lap, and yeah, had a poor second sector on this lap. 4 sectors on this Okayama circuit, as Karamidari is getting back past Koitsinen. Remember, he made that mistake before, but he's come back, and well, I wonder if we'll see Karamidari versus Mordos round 2 by the end of this race. Of course, the two of them already colliding earlier on.
You have to wonder, Sam, as they bounce across the curves with Williams there, and through the Moss S. It's it, everyone just remaining pretty much line astern through the Moss S's. It's Atwood, as I said in the build-up, so crucial is this corner for the ability to defend or attack into the hairpin. It's back up to this battle at the front, still close as you like, and some of you saying about Fletcher closing in. Wow, nearly within touching distance of these two, and the more that they continue to fight, the closer he's going to get, and there we go. Wow, half a second behind Barb now.
And Fletcher's pretty much the fastest man out on circuit. He's lapping even faster than Veerman and Redford, which is no surprise considering that he started up in 4th position, was only a 10th or so off pole position. And so, yeah, the Brit absolutely rapid. And, well, imagine if you get a podium out of this one, he will be kicking himself. Of course, the first ever, I say first ever because Apex Racing League did exist a while ago as well, but in 2019 he won the GTE category in Apex Racing League GT America, as that was camera died. So he was going for a move on Gibb, and then just completely locked the car up and went straight on. The banking can only help you so much here at Hairpin, and that was the brilliant cutback previously from Barb to be able to hold on to that position, but it was later that lap that he eventually lost that third place.
Oh, Sam Godden just running in a bit deep there. He'll get away with it. That's Adam Williams, who's head through the Moss S's. Look back from him right now in live pictures. So we're going on for a bit of a change for third place there. Sorry, she'll explain the way through the replays.
Now, Fletcher, I think, this was the confirmation of that move. Nice wider part of the circuit there. As Fletcher, well, he's got nightmares from this scenario, really, because he went straight on at this corner earlier on in the race. This time, he has stopped it on a dime. Mark Fletcher up into 4th position, and he's now got Jack Godden, the privateer, in order to pass next.
Just looking at where they are on track right now, Sam. Ron Veerman, our leader, who's really just pulled away and extending that gap out at the front. He's going to take the white flag this time around. Yes, he will do. Yeah, so I was just looking at where they are on track and just doubly affirming that with myself. So we're going to have 1 lap left remaining, and this battle for third is going to come right down to the line. And 10th, wow, Floodman looking like he's going to hold on, which is a standing result for an AM driver. Means he will be starting from pole. Of course, race 2 is a reverse grid of the race 1 results for the top 10. The rest, everyone just starts from where they finished first race. The Fletcher now pushing Godden. Godden knows it. He goes defensive to the inside. Fletcher backs out of it. Sam, where does he go for it, Fletcher? Surely it's got to be nail it out of Atwood. Down the back straight. Get him into Hairpin.
Yeah, I think wherever the opportunity comes, he's got to try to go for it, but you're right that the Hairpin is the most obvious place. Widest part of the circuit as well. It's tricky to cover off all the way to the inside. It's tricky to cover this one off all the way to the inside. Fletcher lining this one up nicely, but he's got to keep an eye on the mirrors as well, that Barb doesn't go for an ambitious move, albeit the Frenchman just starting to lose a little bit of pace as this race goes on. Fletcher finds himself now on the outside of the circuit. He should have better straight line speed, but he may well have to go the long way round once they get on the bricks.
Can he make it stick? Right round the outside. But here we go, onto the brakes. He's going to be last to the late break. As you can see, those rear discs glowing. And this could be the move. Fletcher swoops down low, but Godden tries to keep his nose in there, but it's not enough, and Fletcher's got the move done.
Brilliant stuff there. Patient stuff from Fletcher as well, because he absolutely sent it to Godden, but Fletcher kept it calm and was able to just get his car heading into Revolver. They're still battling meanwhile for 11th position. Looks like Flodman's going to get the reverse grid pole, as that's a fantastic underneath move there from Bahate to get underneath, and Harris now moves through as well, also losing 2 places in the closing stages, but there's no stopping the Dutchman out in the lead.
Blind Dutchman, it is indeed Robin Veerman, your first ever winner here in Apex Racing League Clio Cup. Congratulations, holding that honour to your name. Redmond comes home in second. Fletcher, is he going to hold on? Yes, he does. To round out your first ever podium, Godden in the end has to settle for 4th. Barb 5th. Gibb crosses the line in 6th. Modos Karamadaru, Quinton 9th. Floodman, will he come home in 10th? Just needs to bring it home. Yes, he does. He starts from pole in race 2. Oh, there's still some battles going on, Sam. It's great.
Yeah, this one, Heredia recovering from a pit stop earlier on. He's got past Joe Walsh, and that is an extra point on the board, and also a place on the grid for race 2. So not what the Spanish driver wanted by any means, but it gives him something extra to fight with for the second race of the evening. Should be coming up in about 3 minutes time. As pretty much everyone across the line, the only retiree there, our second place starter, Jack Wilson.
Good for Wilson. It could have been a completely and utterly different tale, and I think the stories of the race realistically are that one that allowed Veerman to go on and win it. And wow, here are your results. Confirms that Veerman wins Redford second, then Fletcher, Godden, Barb Gibb, Modus, Karamadaru, Quinton 9th overall. Must mention Floodman starts 10th. Your winner in AM2. He starts from pole in the next race with Bet. Harris, Olsen, Malcolm, those last two, you're running out your podium in and 13th and 14th, respectively. It's Pudicum, Soriano, Mullen, Heredia takes you up to 18th. Just wait for you to click over. There you go. Jay Walsh Alberg running at your top 20. Then it's Hedgecock, Fahij, Klist to round out your drivers finishing on the lead lap with Wilson 6 laps behind after retiring. But should we take a little look at some highlights, Sam?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Let's take a look. Welcome back, and well, one race in, and we're just about to take the grid for the second race of this evening here in the ARL Cup, Clio Cup, Season 1, Round 1, the first ever round, and here is your grid. Of course, top 10 reversed from the results from race 1, which means the AM driver Floodman starts from pole with his fellow Scandi Kuignan lining up alongside him. Caramadaro is on row 2 in Modos. Gibb, Barb on row 3 with Godden and Fletcher, the all-British row on row 4. Redford lines up alongside race 1 winner, the first ever winner here in ARL Clio Cup, Robin Veerman. And Behet Harris starts row 6 with him. There's Olsen and Malcolm. Pudicum and Soriano. Row 8 is McMullen and Heredia. Walsh and Alberg. And a top 20 as we are green. And we are away for the second time this evening. Who's going to come out on top? Can the AM hold on to this one? And it's a great start for Floodman. And it's looking good for him. He's going to lead into turn 1. And there's contact already.
Madaru off the circuit and will drop down outside the top 10 because of that one. But Floodman leading the way, got away well enough in the end to hold on to that lead. He's got a gap as well as some big gainers behind Veerman and Fletcher making their way through the field.
So we look back from Floodman, that is the chasing pack, and they're all over each other. They're scrambling with one another to try and find a way past and all get after the Swedish driver who's just pulling away. He's pulled out 2 temps just through Atwood alone. He is on for the fly. Make that 3 temps already as there's battles are plenty up and down through the field. 2 wides, 3 wides. As just look at Jad Wilson. What a start for the back of the pack for him. He's already up 7 places into 17th. He's going to be one to watch out for this season.
Yeah, that's exactly what he needed to do, but he's still so far behind his championship rivals realistically as Fletcher continues to make up places, now up 4 into 4th place, but I think he's just lost one there. Jack Godden sending on him. Reverse of what we saw in race 1 as 3 drivers collide. I think that was Redford, Harris and Veerman. Veerman losing a lot of momentum because of that as they threaten to go 3 wide into Redmond corner.
We're right on board with Veerman right now. That is Redford ahead of us. Drivers left and slightly in front. That is Harris. Barb just tucking in behind us right now. So we head through Mike Knight down to last corner, but Floodman, so his advantage being taken away because Modos is chasing after him and the Hungarian is coming after him fast right now. This is the gap, has shrunk by 3 tenths. It's down to still 8 tenths though, Sam, and that is crucial because it's potentially also a big incident in the background. Someone's in the wall, and I think that's Alberg or McMullen maybe.
Yeah, and they collided as well. I think it was Alberg initially into the wall, then spun across the circuit and collided with McMullen. Super unlucky for McMullen, but that happened late on down the straight. Must have been another quarter panel, and we have seen a fair few of them so far tonight. At the front of this group is Connor Gibb, but Redford is trying to get past Gibb right now, and he's bustling his way through. There's an absolute send there from the Effect Sim Racing driver of Veerman. He managed to gain 1 place. He might gain 3 places on this because he's in a fantastic space right in the toe of the Apex Racing Academy driver ahead.
Rubbing into racing, door banging plenty. So we head down towards the hairpin. There's 2 wide by 2 wide by 2 wide by 2 wide as we come onto the brakes. They even try and make it 3 wide there in the background, but somehow they all make it through. Well, Veerman, he's managed to squeeze his way past. Oh, and he's been spun around. It's going to cause a big pile-up.
Veerman off, Gibb losing time, and Harris as well. Harris now down into 13th position. Well, they're all being very aggressive there, particularly Veerman, I think, heading into outward curve. And he was the one who lost out significantly, partially because of it, as Fletcher up into 2nd place. He's got away from all of that and is by far the favourite right now, as I've got another Effect driver around. That's Wilson,
oh,
who
no.
actually gone up so many places, hadn't he? He was up into the top 10. He'd gained 15 odd places from his race start, but now that's all been undone.
Oh, he'd had an amazing... He was up to like 17 positions, Sam. 17!
And Karamadaru off in the background as well. In the background, we've got a change for the lead. Fletcher already onto the back of Flodman, and this is incredible stuff right now for the Apex Racing League American GT champion, because he is almost going to be unrivaled for the last 16 minutes here, you think?
Do you think so? You think? But still lots of time left on the clock. I mean, great start from Mark Fletcher. He's up 7 places. I mean, it has been eclipsed by other drivers, but they've all come off the track. Looking right to the time so far, McMillan and Alberg. Still out and running as well. Actually, Veerman heading into the pits. That could well be another retirement. Big casualties as well. Olsen, Sariano, Karamadaru. Also Wilson too, who will have to make up so many places. He's now come back around. Oh, Modos just completely outbraked himself there, didn't he?
Yeah, he panics. Yeah, locked the tires, and once that happened, there was absolutely no stopping the car. Malcolm, meanwhile, up to 2nd place out of the amateur drivers. Best of the race, he's got past Jay Walsh, both these guys. Well, actually, Malcolm only up 1 place, to be fair, but Walsh is up 5 places. He'd certainly take that result if he can keep it. Flodman with a slight setback. Godden is up into 2nd place, and Flodman lost quite a bit of time in that move, and it's very much invited the likes of Redford and Koitunen onto his rear now. But Fletcher, 1.8 seconds clear. He should... Godden should keep him honest, but from what we saw in race 1, Fletcher did have a few tenths of a second over his fellow countryman, so he won't be too concerned. I think he'll be the likes of Redford and yeah, perhaps someone further down, but obviously with so many setbacks for the Effect Simulations drivers, they're completely out of the fight now.
Let's just look back from Godden. Floodman just been tipped a little bit. It's there, Redford sneaking his way past. Floodman down to 4th. Still going strong though. Lloyd Barber, the fastest driver last time around, 1:44.7. That's on some electric pace. That's faster than anyone. Oh, of course it will be, because he has the fastest lap. Bit of a Murrayism there for you, but even quicker than Fletcher. He's really making some moves. One to watch out for. As we look further down the field, this is the battle ensuing all around. Harris, Puddicombe, Bates. Those last two pretty much side by side. Gibb tucks up right behind them and closing, because these two are about to lose a lot of time into hairpin. As Puddicombe drivers right. Is he going to run it into the... Oh, what a beautiful switch back there from Kim Bates.
And we've seen that so many times, haven't we, where if you can sort out the car so that you can pretty much squirt the throttle pretty much on turn in, then you can gain so much time compared to someone who's still trying to get the car turned middle of the corner. So that's something to consider later on in the championship, that the cutback is really effective. As long as you leave just a little bit of a line on the inside in these front wheel drive cars, you really can gain a lot of an advantage. And we saw it in a great exhibition right there. Oh, Barb also showing a really smooth exit to the last corner. And Mikko Koivunen, who is down 3 places from his race start, still having a really good run right now as Koivunen could get a top 10 out of this one. I think he'd be happy with that, to have 2 top 10s in his first ever Apex Racing League meeting. It's not going to be a top 5 because Loic Barb is past as they go 3 wide down the straight. Walsh starting to lose a few of those places that he gained early on. Oh, they've all smashed into one another. They were making a beeline for the perimeter of the circuit, and the one who lost out on that was probably the most innocent party, Adam Hedgecock.
Who's right behind him? It's a recovering Jack Wilson. Hedgecock, well, gutted for him.
And Verheij does get past Walsh. I think it was Verheij, wasn't it, who went wide in the first race? Yeah, he was the one on the outside, and he just seemed unable to turn.
I think they're going to change places again. Well, I was talking about changing places. Redford versus Goddard. That is, yeah, that's a change for position.
Goddard not fighting that one much. Maybe he feels like that there's a chance that they could catch up to Fletcher, as there goes the effective racing driver of Wilson, and he gets past both Walsh and Verheij in quick succession. Also, with the way that these two are continuing to fight, I think we might see Hedgecock catch back up to them in all this.
Was he 1.2 seconds behind Sam? The way these two have been clambering all over one another would not surprise me in the slightest. So just keep you abreast of how things are panning out here, with just coming up to 11 minutes of racing time remaining here from race 2 of round 1 of the Apex Racing League Clio Cup Series. Fletcher leads from Redford. Godden running out your podium. Floodman still 4th overall, and your leader in Amp. He's on for a cracker if he can remain there. Barb 5th. There's Kuitunen, Modos, Harris, Bahit, and Puddicombe running out your top 10. Then it's Gibb, Haradia, the second car in class, which is Malcolm, as yet again Wilson clear. He's just seeing the foreground, but Heej and Walsh still swapping places. And now Hedgecock, Sam, who you said we 1.2 seconds behind them, not about half a lap ago. That gap is now down to half a second.
And Hedgecock's going to be frustrated as well, because he was wiped out on the previous lap by these drivers. So keep an eye on it in the bottom right. But here's a replay of the race starts, and that was the slight tap and Karamidi. Honestly, that could have been netcode as well. I'm not entirely sure. It's just, it is frustrating to see these Clios just bounce off one another as they are. You tap them and they fly an absolute mile. It seems like. And we've seen that a fair few times. And Karen Midari was the victim on that occasion. Now this is where it really got hairy, into the hairpin and into Revolver. And that's one of the altitude cars of Fletcher, just making his way through from 5th, and then manages to get up into, well, not 3rd on that occasion, but it wasn't soon after that Fletcher was able to get past, and that was the 3-way with Redford on the inside making contact, and they...
Ball doesn't go into one, does
No.
it, Sam? It's never going to, and, well, just...
But Redford managed to get through all this very, very cleanly. It was a couple of these other altitude cars who really lost out.
Just seeing in live pictures right now, Fuffman being attacked from behind as I mean, it was so close between them. It's that start that surprised in some way there wasn't more casualties from it all. As onto the brakes they come. You could just see how Barb is just dipping in and diving, trying to find a way past Floodman, just trying to unsettle him. But can this be the move? The run down towards the hairpin. Here we go. And Floodman not defending this one. Barb going to have a good look up the inside. Who's going to be last? Late breakers, and Floodman tries to hold it right round the outside. He knows if he can remain there, he'll have the inside into Revolver and Piper, and he defends it beautifully again, and he gets tagged from behind by Barb. And Barb now could end up losing a place himself because Quaitnan is all over his rear. And look who's come along for the ride is Damien Harris.
Yeah, Harris will be fancying his chances in all of this one with the chaos that's going ahead as we see a lock-up right there for Floodman at the front of all of this. And Bob's still trying to keep his car alongside. We'll have the inside for Mike Knight corner. You can take a fair bit of curb, but you do have to be conscious of the slowdown. If you take too much, I don't think anyone's fallen victim to that so far. Quaitnan eventually stays ahead, but here comes Harris trying to go on the outside. There wasn't space because Barb ended up understeering out of the corner. Harris needs to think about the championship here, not take too many unnecessary risks. Barb taking a very tight line. He'll do well to get the car stopped into turn one. He does manage to hit the apex. Not enough pace carried by him though, and it will be Damien Harris up to 5th position as Floodman makes a desperate escape from this ensuing battle.
He's running away. It's 1.3 seconds, Sam. He was being absolutely attacked by Barb and Quaitnan. When they couldn't decide who wanted to make the attack on Floodman first, that then backed everyone up. They then got attacked by Harris, then Bahit and Quaitnan, Models, Pudicum, and is that Gibb as well? Potentially, I could just see on the background there, Sam. All come along, and what was 2 cars trying to attack 4th has now turned into, what, a 6-car battle over 5th?
Yeah, this is absolutely huge. Is anyone going to make a lunge into the hairpin? It's fairly well mannered, but Models getting a much better exit on that tighter line, maybe getting a bit more adhesion from the tarmac. But now he's the one on the defence because Pudicum has got underneath. Pudicum, who started down in 15th place, had a poor race 1, but he's making up for it now. And you can see P4 only a couple of seconds up the road.
Oh, it's a lovely move up the inside. There goes Gibb. And then Modos just nearly reclaims it straight the way back him as Modos ran it in a bit too deep. They still remain side by side. Just looking back from Calabunagam of Altitude Esports. And just looking ahead of them, Floodman, he's had his gap cut a bit to half a second, but he's getting away with this right now. The only slight thing for him is that Harris is, well, getting away from Barb. There is your top 3, Fletcher, Redford and Gordon. They've checked out. They're well clear of everything that's happening behind them. And here comes the trailing pack, the peloton, if you will. Floodman, well, it's like they were about 2 laps ago, Sam, where they were all trying to, have a go. Could decide who wanted to have a go at Floodman first. And they end up falling out with one another. And here comes Harris up the inside. But if he does not tighten up the exit, well, there we go, Floodman. Not having the best of entries himself. And do wonder if maybe, Sam, has he just pushed those tyres a bit too hard in these opening stages?
Yeah, that could be the cause of all that. There was a weird line though from him, wasn't it? Like he really did take an exceptionally late turn into Atwood curve, and so yeah, that's part of the reason why he lost quite as much time as he did. And yeah, it has really decimated that slight gap that he'd been able to pull out over the likes of Barb and Bahait. This time Barb will be hoping not to waste any time behind Floodman because he knows what can happen. After coming so close to me earlier on the Cube Racing driver. So we just have 4 minutes and 20 left of this opening round of the championship.
Where has it gone? Where has it gone? It's been an absolute cracker of an opening round. And Sam, anyone watching at home, how can they get involved in the fun?
Well, if they go to apexracingleague.com, they can sign up for this series, the remaining 6 rounds. They can also sign up to any of the other Apex Racing League series as well. Apex Racing Academy Formula 4 on Saturday evenings. That has 6 rounds still to go. Got the prototypes, which have 4 rounds to go. That's on Thursday evenings. Our other series, Apex Racing Academy Porsche Cup, entries currently not open for that. They will reopen in a week or so, but currently entry absolutely capacity for that 60 drivers taking part. And so can't sign up for that, but you can still sign up for this to take part next week. Here comes Barb. Attempt number 3.
It's got to be at least, hasn't it? Flodman defending him off for now, though. But Flodman's going to have a bit of a compromised exit here. And he's not been defending that inside line that everyone else has. Will he do it this time? Yes, he does. It moves down low. Barb follows him through. He heads to the outside. He looks the long way round and running in deep is Flodman, just trying to squeeze him out wide. And it's an absolute beauty for him. As Queenham, well, he's fallen the way back to 10th, Sam. He was in 6th not that long ago.
Yeah, he lost a bit of time on that last lap. It wasn't awful. He was actually faster than Flodman, so must have had a mistake somewhere on the lap. As still, oh, huge contact.
No.
Once again, you see the way that the cars react. It was as though a bomb went off.
Flodman could lose the lead, Sam. He's lost the lead in
lost the
AM.
lead. Scott Malcolm leads the way in the AMs. Flodman should be fine. If this was a rear-wheel drive car, I'd be really fearing for him, but the rear wheels don't really do a whole lot on these machines, and so the fact that all the contact went into that corner, he should be fine, and there he is. He's not needing to come into the pits, but what a shame for our pole sitter who had fought so valiantly well in the top 10 for the entire race.
Came down to the last, 2.5 minutes. It all fell apart for the Swede. Just give you a bit of a... Jack Wilson, he's done well to recover. Let's, remember, he climbed all the way through the order. Then was it lap 3? Fell back down through, through an incident. He's managed to hold himself all the way back after falling back down to the back of the field again. He's managed to rise all the way up into 13th, which is good considering the pack had already spread out a bit by that stage. He's up 11 places. He is your highest climber so far in this race, as we see Vahij and Klist swapping around here. This is in the battle for 18th place right now. The 292 versus the 297. Closing in on him is Sariano, who's... Well, Sariano's had his own eventful race, shall we say.
Yeah, so many narratives going on, particularly this race too. So many setbacks for a lot of the drivers from that first lap. And a few of them have been trying to protect the places that they gained, and a fair few more have been trying to recover places that they lost. Riding on board with Gibb, with Barb, apologies, with Koitsinen on his rear. Koitsinen has to turn out of the corner slightly, and Modos is able to take advantage. So I think Modos lost a couple of places in all of that, didn't he? Because we saw him make contact initially with Flodman, but he ended up losing time to Gibb, and now Koitsinen as well. But he wants to hold on to 9th place if he possibly can. Is there going to be contact? We've seen this is a precarious position for these Renault Clios to be in. But this time they leave a fair amount of space for one another. And Modos, with the tow from the car ahead, able to get his nose ever so slightly clear of his rival. But on the brakes, and again another contact, and it's not bad driving from the guys whatsoever. It's just you tap doors like that and you spin round.
Misuzu with the hit marker boxes around this car, and I'm sure iRacing will, as they get more and more data on it, looks to improve on it. But well, completely lost this where we've had so much action going out on track. White flag is in the air, Sam. 1 lap left to go here of round 1. Fletcher is surely going to win this at the canter. It's what's happening behind him. It's Buhait, Puddicombe and Barb in the battle royale for 5th place right now.
Yeah, all catching up right at the end. Buhait doing enough with just a few corners to go. Will Puddicombe, he hasn't got a whole lot to lose. He might well send it on one of those remaining hairpins, but this man, Mark Fletcher, is going to be leading the championship after this round. A dominant performance from the Altitude Esports driver.
As he comes through the last corner, he will set the victory with a flash of the lights and undoubtedly a weave across the line. There goes Mark Fletcher. Here's your winner in race 2, and Redford across the line in second. Those two up 7 places. Godden comes home in third to round out that podium. Wow, Sam. Not a bad opening round, shall we say. We've had plenty of drama and excitement, to say the least, as Malcolm there crossing line. He is your winner in AM.
Yeah, brilliant performance there from Scott Malcolm. Really under the radar, honestly, for Ignium Motorsport. We did not see a whole lot of him. It went from 14th up to 11th. I think he might be leading the amateur championship, albeit Flodman might, probably Flodman just a couple of points clear, but will be very tight for that one. Some pretty good racing. A little bit of a shame about some of the contacts out there with just the way that the cars were reacting against one another. It is what it is, and soon we're going to have quite an unusual thing, Tim, because we're going to have an interview in person.
We are.
Will Redford, one of the drivers out there. But before that, we'll go through a couple of ads, and then we'll see you back in the studio.
We will do. We'll see you very shortly.
Hello and welcome back, and well, you see Sam's got a whole lot more better looking as well. Redford of Apex Racing Academy joins us here on the sofas for his initial reaction. Will, 2 seconds for an opening round. I mean, come on, it's not the worst result in the world, is it?
No, I mean, it's more than what I was expecting, really. I mean, I've been practicing for Sebring all week, or for the past 2 weeks, really.
But hold your mic up to you.
Sorry.
That's all right. We'll get him media trained one day, I'm sure. Real world racing, that'll come as well a bit.
Yeah, it was more than I was expecting. I mean, I've been practicing for Sebring for the past 2 weeks, really. So I hopped in about 25 minutes before the race started, and that was my first lap in the car on the track. My first few laps really in the car in general, so it was a bit of a learning process, but I think by the end of it I was getting there, and 2 seconds, I mean, I can't complain with that.
I mean, you can't at all really, and just especially the reverse grid always makes things a little bit interesting. You know, you've experienced it with the F4 as well in one of Apex's leagues. Just talk us through what it's like with these cars being wheel-to-wheel action and the combativeness with them, because they seem like they were, in certain points, they can take a bit of a banging. And at other points in the car, like especially around the rear three-quarter panels, they seem like they're a bit sensitive to the touch.
Yeah, I mean they're front-wheel drive, so they're set up quite loose on the rear end. So any sort of tap will sort of skew the car and it will start going sideways. But it also means, because it's front-wheel drive, you can just put your foot back down and you go straight again. So, I mean, it's a Clio Cup car at the end of the day. People are going to start running into each other and door banging, because that's generally what they're made for. But they're quite easy to save, and they're quite good for wheel-to-wheel racing. I think there's a few bits of strange contact, but I mean, it's iRacing, isn't it, at the end of the day? But they do handle pretty well, and they're good race cars.
How do you find it compares to, obviously, real-world Civic Cup driver? How do you find it comparing, in terms of it's, you know, similar-ish. I know different engine in terms of, you know, 1.6 turbo in the Clio versus, you know, and with an automatic gearbox versus a manual 2-litre naturally aspirated in the Civic. How do you find effectively the real-world equivalent but not equivalent type car?
They're quite close. I think the Clio's got the edge in the corners, but the Civic's a little bit faster down the straights because it's got some more power behind it. But I think the main thing I find is in iRacing, the way the front-wheel drive cars work is you sort of drive it with the rear, using a lot of rear brake bias, and you try and get the rear to rotate on the brakes, whereas in real life, you set them up really pointy on the front end instead. So you turn in, and then the rear is chasing the front instead of being driven. Well, if that makes sense.
So you're trying to reduce almost the lift-off oversteer in real life, compared to you're almost trying to encourage it in the sim.
Yeah, a little bit. I think in real life the cars are set up a lot more on the nose, so you can really chuck it in and the rear will follow the front. Whereas in iRacing, they're not that pointy, especially on the exits when you start putting the power down. So you sort of got to drive it in with the rear brakes. But they feel quite similar. I mean, the braking points I did test a little bit around the tracks that I race in real life, and the braking points are about the same. The minimum speed's a few kilometres higher on the Clio, but yeah, I mean, they're pretty close to each other, and it's just a few little things.
And that's what it's all meant to be about. Before you let you go, Sebring 12R, you obviously mentioned you're running in it. What are you running, and how are you fancying chances?
So I'm going to be in the LMP2, racing for Apex Racing Academy. I'm looking forward to it. We'll see how it goes. I think I'm going to be in top split tomorrow, so the pace is looking promising so far, but we'll see how it goes. Of course, it's a long race and there can be a lot happening.
Well, exactly, 12 hours. Never say never. Well, thanks very much for joining us, Will. And, well, I'm sure we'll see you undoubtedly throughout the season, but let's take a little look at some classified results right now. And, well, you can see Fletcher taking the victory, as we mentioned, in the opening round of the championship. Will Redford, who just had on the sofa with us, he's come home in second place, 2 seconds for him in the opening round. Godden third, Harris fourth, then got Pate, Puddicombe, Barb, Gibb, and Coyton, then Herrera. Scott Malcolm in the end. Sam's pick coming true there. He picked up the win in AM, with Jack Wilson in the end. Well, what a drive it could have been for him. Claim up through the field, obviously came off, fell right to the back again, then climbed all the way in the end, all up to 12th. Flodman held on for so long, but then just got topped around a little bit, and he ended up finishing second in class with Modos. And then Olsen going to round out your podium in with Hedgecock, Walsh, and Vahili. And then we've got Klist, Sariano, Karamado, and Alberg, Veerman, and McMullen. The last two being retirements. And, well, Sam joins me on the sofas again.
It's great to be back. That was a great couple of races.
It was.
So it just feels absolutely bizarre holding this thing.
Yeah.
I've never realised how odd it is to hold a mic. Really a couple of good racing, and I think lines up the championship extremely well because no one dominated out there in both races. There were 5 or 6 drivers who could have taken it. No one had a perfect round either in terms of like 0 instance. You got to remember like Fletcher, of course, had that off at the start of race 1. You know, whilst he scored more points than anyone else, he still had a setback himself. So I think over the course of the next 6 rounds, I think we're going to see a fair few different winners and a very mixed up grid. And
we had, you know, some drivers who did, you know, didn't necessarily results-wise do too well, but equally had some, you know, came through the fields where Wilson being one of them, and then fell back down through incidents. So I think it's, for me, Sam, it's even more open than what it seems at first. You know, at least what the results are showing. Yeah,
effects simulation, of course, racing later on in the Porsche Cup as well. They're a very strong team. I think both their drivers are going to be up there because they finished first and last in race 1. Once they get that consistency, they are going to be championship contenders. I believe we have Mark Fletcher, but unfortunately he has disappeared. But we do have Scott Malcolm joining us now, who we will have a chat with. Scott, can you hear us all right? Excellent. Well, it's fantastic to have you back on the channel. How was the racing out here tonight? Because it looked fairly intense, but using your experience, you seem to be able to get through it fairly well.
Yeah, it was pretty good. A lot of guys give it a lot of space, and I had a couple of comings together with a couple of guys in the first race. I've tried to look it back, see if it was my fault, but I guess maybe the first one I was coming a wee bit too hot, so I don't know. Like I said, I'll have another look later on and see. But apart from that, I think it was pretty well done. You know, like a lot of good racing, and these cars are a hell of a lot of fun to drive.
Absolutely. I mean, of course, you always gravitate towards the front-wheel drive cars. Is this now your main car on iRacing?
No, nah. I've still got a main car in iRacing. I know I do the TCR a lot, but I'll flow between the two of these cars, I think.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair enough. And when you look forward to see the rest of the season, what tracks are you most looking forward to? I mean, we've got the likes of Nordschleife, Silverstone, Spa, and a few others. I mean, is there any tracks that you're particularly looking forward to?
Just the usual ones like the Brands Hatchies, the Silverstones. You know, I'm not too keen on the Nordschleife. But all the kind of British tracks and Spa, things like that. I like these kind of tracks.
Absolutely. Well, before we let you go, Scott, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Just Ignum Motorsports. You guys for putting on this series, and all the rest of the drivers coming. And I've just seen you have put my ugly mug up on the screen. You need to change that. You need to.
Well, thanks for having a chat with us, Scott, and well, best of luck for next week.
Right, cheers, guys. Cheers.
Scott Malcolm there, and I think we will have another attempt at Mark Fletcher. I'll let you have a go.
Fingers crossed. Mark can hear. Yes, there you go. We've got him.
I literally must have jumped out as I was getting moved up. Sorry.
Yeah, literally. Sam was just introducing you, and we had a word in our ear. Say, oh, he's gone. We'll speak to Scott Malcolm instead. No, Mark, congratulations. I mean, well. A bit of a challenge to get to the front initially, but once you got there, it seemed like it was plain sailing.
Yeah, race one was a bit of fun. I decided to drive off the track. We were going like 4 wide, 2x2 into that hairpin, and I was going to pull right, and then Brian was like, "You should have braked by now." So I just kind of straightened it up and threw it into the gravel trap. But yeah, it's all about momentum. These cars, that it's such a fun little series to do, and looking forward to all the rest of the rounds.
Well, talking of the rest of the rounds ahead of you, any in particular that's really standing out for you, thinking I'm going to really look forward to driving that track and car combo?
I think the littler tracks are nice. So when we go to Brands Hatch, obviously next week, that's going to be fun. That's going to be really close. I mean, it was close tonight with the top sort of 6 split by 3/10, I think it was in qualifying. So yeah, there's a load of people that are up there. Obviously, everyone is super respectful. It's really clean, even though you can bash doors ever so slightly in these things. But yeah, Nords Combined is my track. I cannot wait.
Oh, that's going to be a really interesting one. Plenty of challenges for the drivers and different format too. So it's going to be interesting to see that one plays out. But like you say, I can't wait for Brands Hatch. Absolutely love that place. Mark, before we let you go, anyone you want to give a shout out to at all?
Just all the guys at Altitude, our team sponsors, Sim Stickers, Finding Speed, Bream, Sim Racing Studio, Mr. Hedge, and obviously JD, PD Designs, who do all the paints. And thank you guys for streaming it. It's much appreciated.
Hey, it's no problem. Well, you put on great action for it, like you have done. Congratulations, that's your race 2 winner, Mark Fletcher.
Thank you. Good night.
Well, definitely one to watch out for, I think, this season, and someone who's really up for the fight. And wow, I would say last, but that makes it sound like he's not taking the series properly. But he is, you know, someone who's just enjoying the driving and having fun with it, really, ultimately.
Yeah, you got to in these cars, and yeah, I think Mark's going to be fairly laid back about the championship. Of course, he is a former Apex Racing League champion, about 2.5, coming up to 3 years ago now. So one of the very, very early ones. So we'll be looking to get that second title for himself. But yeah, not going to be easy whatsoever. But I think that laid back attitude could well be a positive one. I mean, it's a fixed setup series. If you're not taking the results super seriously, obviously you want to win, but it's important not to get disheartened. And well, that can often be a winning mentality, to have that positivity.
Well, exactly, because you're sort of like, well, do you know what? I won't go for it because I don't want to ruin someone else's race. I'm just here to have a bit of fun. So you end up, you know, we saw it in the GT3 season as well, didn't we? Where drivers were right up there, just purely, I think of Schwartz, for example. It was just there from consistency of just, you know, finishing in and around that top 3 every single race. And they, you know, Schwartz did win, you know, the first and the last race of the season. Maybe that's a thing, you know, might be in common with Fletcher there. It's just that mid-season consistency of not always making it on the podium, but just being there that made you finished up so high up in the standings.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, consistency is always going to be important, and short season as well. So only 7 rounds, and to get a first and a fifth in the opener is a fantastic result for Mark out here tonight. But well, we've got another broadcast to get through, I think, Tim. So we'll of course make sure to watch that Porsche Cup. It's starting in about 20 minutes' time, so we'll go off and
Virginia International Raceway. It's going to be a cracker. We had season opener only 1 week ago here from the Apex Racing TV studios, and it was just wow. Where to begin with describing that one? Amazing racing. No different tonight from Virginia. Heat format back again as well. Just works so well with those cars and those drivers, and ooh, I'm looking forward to it, Sam.
I think it's
more
than
a plate of rich beef sausages. My favourite sausages, Sam.
Absolutely, my favourite meal as well. And so, yeah, really looking forward to that one. So tune in 15 minutes' time. Also check out the Radicals, of course, later on. And yeah, of course, check out round 2 of this championship next week.
Definitely. Right, we will see you in around about 15 minutes' time. Here, don't go anywhere. See you soon. Take care.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.